It's going to take a few seconds. Oh, there you go.
All right.
Cool.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is actually start things off and talk about Dallas a little bit. Now, I didn't realize this, but I'd been up here for 13 years. I came to Tony's WordCamp back in 2010, attended these groups ever since they were back at the Art Institute. I did not realize how great of a community y'all have up here. And so this list here, this page, shows you the top 10 WordPress meetup groups in the world. And even though there's another city in Texas who's listed higher, the fact that you're all here shows that y'all are better, because
Yes, we are.
there are so many of you. Look, this room is full. Now, I actually did a little bit of competitive research, if we'll call it that, and looked at Austin, and I looked at their last few meetups, and yeah, they have they had one really big meetup, but the other ones are kind of in their 20s and their 30s. But this group consistently gets in their 40s and their 50s and their 60s. So they may have greater numbers on paper, but you guys have greater numbers in the seats where it counts. So I'd like to give Dallas a round of applause for that. And the fact that Dallas, the marketing community here, the digital marketing community especially, is very encouraging. Like just what Tony just did there, where he asked the other people who had meetups, we had Mitch and Beth and Rob and Peter. He asked them, hey, y'all stand up, talk about your groups for a little bit. That's something that Dallas does that other cities don't do as well. If those meetups talk, you know, they kind of go about their business. They don't necessarily cross-promote or cross-market one another. And for a marketing group, that's kind of essential, and that helps build this community. So if this is your first time here to a WordPress meetup group, if you come to these other groups, you'll see these same faces. And so it won't be something where you just see somebody once a month. It might be once a week or twice a month. And then you'll start to develop these relationships and these partnerships with people who are in your community. That's something that Dallas does really well, which when I moved down to Houston after living here for 13 years, I sorely missed. Now, in the last year and a half that I've been in Houston, the Houston WordPress Meetup Group has restarted. We modeled a lot of what we do after what you guys do here. I'm one of the co-organizers for that group. And then there's another group which is kind of like a baby DFW SEM, and it's called Search HOU down there. We're getting some wonderful speakers in over there. Rob Garner from DFW SEM up here is coming down. Beth will be there next month. She's been nice enough to volunteer her time to come and speak in front of that group. And so we're getting there. We're not where you guys are at, but you guys have something really good here. So make sure and keep your Saturdays open. Come to these groups as much as you can. It's an asset. And that asset wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Tony. During my first 1 or 2, maybe 3 meetings I came here, I brought I was looking through my bags. I didn't have everything. I was new to all this stuff, and said, I wanted to bring a bag up here, like to put my stuff in there, but I didn't want it to be too formal. I didn't want to bring like a briefcase, which I don't even own. But yeah, so I had this little ammo bag, green ammo bag that I got at an Army surplus store. And so I got it, I put my iPad in there, I put my notepad in there, and I brought it up, and I got talking to people, handing out business cards. I was like, yeah, I have a lot of fun, you know, networking with folks. And I left my bag behind. I was like, oh man, like a new guy, I left my bag behind. I have to email the organizer. He'll never email me back. I'll never get it back. Tony emailed me back right away. Like within a couple of days, I was at his house. He invited me in. We had a drink or something, and gave the bag back. So it's part of the community and it's part of the organizer. So thank you, Tony, for all you've done. All right, so let's jump into what we all came out to look at here, and that is Conductor. So we're going to jump into that now. So drag and drop page building with Conductor plugin. And the distinction here between page building and layout building is scope, right? So there are some layout builders out there, and I'll talk about them here in a moment. There are some layout builders out there, and let me turn this on. All right, getting ahead of myself. Layout building, page building really has to do with efficiency and using technology. And Bill Gates said the first rule of any technology used in a business is that automation applied to an efficient operation will magnify the efficiency. And the second is that automation applied to an inefficient operation will magnify the inefficiency. So whatever you're doing in your business, if you're automating it, make sure it's something worth automating and it's something that is useful for your business. You don't want to automate something that's really useless to the bottom line. You don't want to. You just want to get those things out. So how does Conductor help?
What am I going to do all day?
Yeah, what are you going to do all day? Yeah. You can check Facebook, I guess. How does Conductor help? Primarily, it's code-free design. Now, if you're using a Genesis theme, if you're using some of the other third-party themes out there, the reality is you'll have to have a developer help you out maybe the last 10%. And it depends on how picky you are. Maybe it's the last 5%, maybe it's the last 1%. Change some heading sizes, change some colors to get it tweaked to what your theme looks like. There's no way that any third-party plugin can just fit in completely into the entire WordPress ecosystem of themes. There are just too many out there. Now, the really cool thing about it is, page layouts, especially for landing pages that might have taken a developer 8 hours, 12 hours, 16, 20 hours to develop, we create a landing page in like an hour and a half. And so it took me an hour and a half to build the layout. I had a developer go in a few more hours, tweak some of the CSS for us, get the last 10% going, and we were off to the races. We didn't have to build an entirely new template in WordPress. We didn't have to go in and just start from scratch. We just created this layout in Conductor. Now, the reason I like Conductor as opposed to some of the other solutions out there is it is a plugin-based approach. And for those of you who are familiar with WordPress, you'll know that there's two major areas of customization in WordPress. One of those is themes, and the other one is plugins. Now, you can have some other spots as well, but primarily plugins and themes. So the plugin approach, you'll really thank yourself if you go down the plugin approach, because in 3 to 5 years, when you want to change your website that looks so beautiful today, in 3 to 5 years, you'll say, this website looks horrendous. What was I thinking? And so you'll look at that website and say, I want to change it. If you have a plugin-based approach, you can change it with minimal disruption. Yes, you'll probably have to go in and change some of that CSS again for your new plugin. Yes, there'll be some tweaks to do here and there, but by and large, your content will follow you, your customizations will follow you, and that's why Conductor is worked pretty well in my book. Now, there's Visual Composer. Some of us chat about Visual Composer over pizza outside, and it's a great theme builder if you know what you're doing. And a lot of times we have to get those pixels just right so that it'll work well with responsive design. We have to get those layouts just right on either tablets or mobile. And Visual Composer, you can get in there and make some of those tweaks, and with great power comes great responsibility, so use responsibly. Divi's in the same camp. With Divi, for those of you who are familiar with WordPress, if you ever take a Divi theme out and replace it with, say, a Genesis theme or a Thesis theme or something you bought off ThemeForest, you pull that out, you put your old theme on there, maybe you put it in 2016, you'll see in a giant collection of shortcodes. That's how Divi works on the back end. Bunch of square brackets everywhere. So if you take that Divi theme, you decide, I don't want this anymore, I'm going back to what I had before, you'll notice that you just got invaded by shortcodes. Now, there's another one called Make by Theme Foundry. I'm not too familiar with Make, but I heard that was another theme builder. Is anybody out here using Make? All right, so yes, got one?
I'm using one called Generate Press.
Generate Press, thoughts on that one?
I think it's a theme.
Oh, okay, cool. So it's an entire theme, and you go in and kind of drag and drop and make changes?
Right.
Does it make a lot of changes on the back end of the dashboard? Does it look unfamiliar, or does it look like a normal WordPress dashboard?
Yeah, there's a lot of new stuff on the dashboard.
Okay, a lot of new stuff. That's one of the complaints of Divi too. I had another blogger I was speaking with down in Houston, and she runs a conference down there. She writes a lot of blog posts. It's all about blogging for her. And she said she got into a Divi site, and it's just completely, she didn't know what to do. Now, it's like everything. There's a learning curve to it. Divi's got a lot of great things behind it. If you want to redesign your site, and then maybe 3 to 5 years you want to stick with another Divi solution, you're in good shape. So I'm by no means saying that Divi is not an option. I'm just saying know your options. That's all. Now, many of you know Chris Lima. His mantra there is, if you use a Divi theme in WordPress, it better be forever. And it goes back to the shortcode things we talked about before there. And if you haven't read Chris Lima's website, it is awesome. He talks about membership plugins on there, all sorts of other stuff, chrislima.com. You'll see him at WordCamps around the country. I saw him at, who was at the DFW WordCamp? Yeah, he was there. Chris spoke at that group. Peter was there. So yeah, he did an awesome presentation there, and he never disappoints. All right, so what we're going to do is, and these are the guidelines for today's presentation. I don't like keep it simple stupid, so replaced it. Keep it simple smarty.
Yeah.
Use managed hosting. Now, this is not coincidental. The two sponsors of this group and the actual continuing sponsor is WP Engine. I love WP Engine. Chris loves WP Engine. Tony loves WP Engine. It's fast. It's reliable. You can create stuff on staging servers. You don't have to experiment on your production site. Maybe you're about to launch a new product. You put a new plugin, totally bombs your site. Your clients don't know what to do. Not a problem with WP Engine. Managed hosting, they have staging servers. It's awesome. Now, some of this stuff with what we're going to do today regarding Conductor, there is a bit of a learning curve to it, and I'm going to try and get you guys through some of that today. But the reality is, if you're showing your customers how to do this, you should create a help video for them. My recommendation, something that we do is we set up a Join Me session. We were chatting about this outside too. Set up a Join Me session. You can do this with other screen share programs too. Record that session with your client, and then you can put it up on YouTube, maybe send a private link to them, so that way when you have a question 2 or 3 months down the line, hey, how do I do this? How do I change this aspect of Conductor? You've already covered it during your help training session, and you don't have to cover it again. They'll like you for it because they don't want to call you at 2 in the morning, and you don't want that call at 2 in the morning. And so just creating a quick little tutorial video whenever you're doing your handoff, your final handoff to the client, will definitely earn you a lot of goodwill from them. All right, let's get this out of the way early, because I don't want anybody coming at the end saying, well, I thought it was free, forget it, I'm not doing that. It's not free. In fact, the lowest, they change the pricing from time to time, but this pricing is held for a while. Lowest price is $49, goes on up to $3.99. So what do? So you're a business owner, you've got your own WordPress website, you want to do Conductor, but you don't want to spend $400. You might spend $50, but you sure don't want to spend $400. Well, my recommendation is to find a developer in the room, buddy up with them. If they've already got Conductor, maybe they've got one of these 2 packages for you, and they can install it on your site for you. They might even have Gravity Forms. They might even have some other premium plugins where they can add them in where it's no extra cost to them. They'll add them to your site, and you don't have to pay any extra. Plus, you have an expert from within this room that you know and you see every other week because you're going to all these other awesome marketing groups, and you can chat with them. Get them a couple of beers, start talking to them about stuff, and it goes from there. So yeah, power of community, the power user, and developer plans.
Question, is that per year?
Now, this plan, the developer plan, is one time.
One time? Okay.
And the power user plan is $199 per year. They may have an upgrade path on that. I'm not sure. I would think that if you paid $199, they might want to bump you up to the next level. Not sure on that one. I'm a huge fan. Anybody listen to the Matt Report podcast? The Matt Report. It's all about WordPress. If you're a WordPress developer, designer, business owner, consultant, highly recommend the Matt Report.
What's it?
It's a podcast. So Mitch can Matt. Different Matt. Yeah, but like that. Yeah. Yeah, he's an awesome guy. He's super involved in the community. He had he had Matt Mullenweg on his show, who's the inventor of WordPress, which, by the way, was created in Houston, just in case y'all didn't know. Yeah, just figured I'd throw that out there. I didn't believe it either. I saw it on their website. I was like, these guys are full of it. But then I looked it up, and you can look it up online. He'll say he created it. He was downtown somewhere, and he put all the code together, and it was down in Houston. So, yeah. Anyway, so the Matt Report is awesome. They have 2 seasons of their podcast. Season 1 is all about WordPress and running a WordPress business. You bring in like major heavy hitters to talk about how to run that business. Super helpful. Season 2 is more about plugins, and he's got a new plugin coming out. But yeah, he's the guy who created Conductor plugin. So I'm a huge fan of his. I love his podcast. I just bought the developer one and had a lot of faith that it'd be what I needed, and it's worked out. So yeah. All right. Any other questions before we jump in?
So are those prices yearly subscriptions, or?
The developer one is unlimited, one time. Yeah, sorry for not being clear on that one. And then power user is $199 per year. So it adds up pretty quickly.
Well, you should also mention that it will still work if you don't renew after a year. You're just not going to get any support or any more updates.
Right. And then as WordPress, y'all probably seen this, every 3 months WordPress comes out with a new version. As it does that, it slowly starts to break the old stuff. Yeah. Ken?
What was the podcast right there, Matt?
Matt, it's called the Matt Report. And I believe that's the URL for the website too, mattreport.com. Yeah.
It's just Matt report, not the Matt report.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the URL is. It's either thematreport.com or mattreport.com. Google will find it for you. You can type in Matt Report and then WordPress.
Well, his full name is Matt.
If Google can't find that, it doesn't need to be a search engine.
They ask you.
All right, so we're going to jump into, this is going to be kind of the demo portion of the meeting. And so what we're going to do first is, I had originally planned on uploading everything and starting from scratch and doing all that, but you guys know how to do that. And so we're going to take a little bit of a simpler approach. And I'm going to show y'all, I'm just going to activate and change some themes. So it's not quite from scratch, but it's close enough. Want to make sure you had enough time for pizza later. So we'll jump into that. Speaking of pizza, John's Pizza Shop, from frozen to fantastic.
Now the question is, have a picture of you?
No. I went on Flickr. For y'all who are looking for stock photos and don't want to pay for them, you can go on Flickr, look for usage licenses there. They have a cool little search engine thing, or I guess some advanced search on there. And y'all can make sure and look for Creative Commons. And if you're running a commercial site, be sure and look for Creative Commons with commercial use. And so I did all that stuff before this meeting. I put attribution in there. By the way, I'll ask a question of the community here real quick. So we put some attribution in for all of these photos that were from Flickr. Do y'all know of a way to get HTML in there, like HTML links? Because I had these all nice and linked up on this Google Doc that I prepared with links directly to their stuff, but I couldn't get it in the description. Okay.
Just a question about that. Is it enough to put the attribution into that description and then you're legally fine?
I think if you were to put this up on a production site, I would feel a lot better about it if this attribution also had links behind it.
But then you
So-
should be fine.
Yes, you need to put
do that.
attribution, and it needs to be visible with the image, and then it needs to be, I think it should be linked as well. I just couldn't figure out how to link it, so.
You could do it as a caption. You can make a caption a link.
Ah,
If you go
okay,
back
that's
the
what I need to
visual
do then,
editor and
okay.
Just highlight it like normal.
All right, we're gonna try this. We'll do this on the fly. All right, so I do have the links, they're all in here. So I'm gonna copy that over. I'm gonna put it in the caption. I probably need to do the HTML behind that though, right?
Yeah, you have to go back to your edit.
We'll leave that as an exercise for the reader. Okay,
Because I was going to say, that's what your problem is, you don't have any HTML there.
okay.
Because I put HTML in before.
I get photos sometimes from sites like Freestime and Photolia, and I don't want them to get to the code, but I'm just
Okay.
copy and paste it as all the
And there are other stock photo sites. Typically what we'll do is we'll just purchase from a stock photo site and then leave it at that. And then there's no question about where it came from. It would be kind of a nightmare scenario if somebody uploaded something to Flickr and it really wasn't their image to upload first. So, yeah.
That's why I purchase all my photos.
Yeah.
Or take them myself.
There you go. These are lessons hard learned by some of the folks in the room. Okay, so we're going to jump into back to where so activate the Conductor plugin, activate the Note plugin, and activate Symphony theme. So we're going to start small here. I missed the. And then we'll roll into this pretty quickly. So here's Conductor plugin. Activate that. And the Note plugin. By the way, whenever we finish all of this, I put links. I'll put the slide deck up on SlideShare later. It'll be probably tomorrow or so. But I put links to all of the plugins. Now, most of the plugins are on WordPress.org, and so you can find them there. There are a few of them that are from the Matt Report or ConductorPlugin.com, and you have to purchase them there. But yeah, I put links to all of them so you guys can find them. It may be that you just want to use some of these plugins in your site next week. All right, so I activated that plugin. We're going to move on to the next slide here. So next thing we're going to do is add empty homepage with lorem ipsum. Did a little bit of cheating for y'all to speed this up. So we've got a homepage here. We've got some lorem ipsum content. If you want to find a great generator for lorem ipsum content, I put a link to that site as well. It's lipsum.com. Yeah, it's awesome. So you can put this for your client sites. I find that using this text in there instead of like real copy, especially in the early stages, is super helpful, because then it gets people to focus on the design rather than, oh, you misspelled this, oh, the grammar's not right, oh, I want to change that. Nope, it's all just sample text here. All right. Now we're going to configure the home page with Conductor. So one of the things I did was I ripped out all of my Conductor styles that I created during my practice portion of this meeting. And so I'm going to show you guys, we're going to start from a blank slate here. And there's a number of ways to add new Conductor pages. One of them is to log in the dashboard on the back end and look at Conductor and then options. And then as you conduct each page, it'll add new stuff here. Now, since we're already back here, I'm going to go ahead and conduct the home page. Right now, it's automatically set to disable. And then you can say, oh, well, I want it to be full page layout. I want a sidebar on the right. I want a sidebar on the left. For some reason, I want 2 sidebars. Lots of options there. So we're going to just stick with the standard no sidebars on the home page. You know, typically you'll see, like, for these 2 sidebar options, that's usually a site that has an advertising network on there of some sort, and then maybe has some call to actions in the other sidebar. But for us, we're going to keep it simple for the home page. So we're already conducting it. I'm going to go back here, hit options again. Okay, I forgot to hit save. It's important to hit save. Pro tip, pro tip.
Save with disabled.
Yep. Oh, thank you. We'll get to that in just a minute. So I hit conduct. That'll bring us, you guys have probably all seen this on the back end. This is the customizer for WordPress. Another cool thing I liked about Conductor plugin is it uses the customizer that we're all familiar with on the back end. Now, trick number 1 for the plugin is, okay, well, we're in the customizer. Conductor's here on the back end. How the heck do I get to it? All right, Conductor layouts here. All right. Now, if you're new to Conductor and you haven't been to my presentation today, at this point you're panicking. And so you're like, I just hit conduct and the thing disappeared. What's going on? Don't worry, your content is safe and sound. I got a nice little comment up there for you. Because the first time I did this, I hit turn Conductor on, I was like, what the heck? Where's my blog page? Content's safe and sound, don't worry. We're going to start adding widgets. And so Conductor is a widget-based layout builder, and they have their own Conductor widget. Typically you'll use that on a page. And then you can add widgets from anybody else. That's another cool thing I like about this. If you have a plugin that gives you widgets like, say, Next Gen Gallery, Gravity Forms, any number, pretty much every plugin in WordPress gives you a widget. And so you can use that and build your layout with Conductor. All right, so we're going to start with Conductor widget. I'm going to select a page. Can you guys see that all right on the left-hand side? All right, so I'm going to select the home page. And you'll notice, contrary to what some other layout builders do, this one actually shows you what the home page looks like. It's in the using the same customizer that you would see for WordPress for anything else. It's using the same thing. So you can actually look to see what it looks like on tablet, smartphone, and then get a good idea of how this layout's going to look for your users. Do we have any questions? All right, so we're going to keep rolling here. The cool part here is I can customize what I want the home page to look like, and I can turn things on and off. So maybe you don't want the picture of Luigi on the front here throwing pizzas, so maybe you turn it off. But actually I like it, so I'm going to leave it there. Now, you may not want to see the content, which this is not great content, so we're totally going to get rid of that. Got rid of the content. Read more, not necessary. Getting rid of that link. We don't need the author listed on the home page here. That's ridiculous. Get rid of that. We really don't need the title either, so I'm going to get rid of that. But I like the featured image. So there he is. I changed my mind on the content. I'm putting it back. Easy to do with Conductor. I'm a little paranoid, so I like to hit save a lot. So I hit save there. So that's our basic home page. We're going to jump into some other pages here, and then we're going to come back to the home page. So, all right, that's the home page. Now, I believe,
John,
yes.
why did you choose the Symphony theme?
So I chose the Symphony theme. If you buy either the power user or the developer version, the Symphony theme, we talked about that last 10%, getting a developer to come in and make those CSS changes for you. Well, the Symphony theme is done by the same people who make Conductor, and the CSS is ready to go. And so if you want to build your own layout, you don't have an existing theme that you love, you may want to start with Symfony if you're okay with building your whole site with Symfony. Now, I'm a mostly Genesis guy, so all the sites that we create are done using Genesis themes. If they have an add-on for Genesis, it'll connect up with your Genesis themes and it'll work really well. That being said, you still need to do a little bit of CSS for that last 10%.
I was just curious.
Good question. So I'm going to go ahead and activate the Symfony theme here. It uses the full power of Conductor, so it's got a few extra bells and whistles in there that work right out of the box. Now, I'd already added in my navigation before, so we've got our home page here. We've got the blog page in the upper right-hand corner. So here's the blog page and what it looks like by default with the Symfony theme. And so many of you are familiar. If you go into a post, you can add a featured image there. And so what I did here, let's go ahead and hit edit. So I put him in there in the lower right-hand corner, this little guy here delivering your pizza, and that's the featured image. It's important to make sure that you use the featured image whenever possible because you can get a lot more out of your themes. If your themes are used to pulling that featured image out and then making use of it, then you can manipulate it as needed. All right. So we've set up our home page with lorem ipsum. Blog page, it's pretty much empty. There's no fancy stuff going on there. It's just your standard blog page. There's already blog posts in there, as you guys saw. I don't know if y'all realize this, but my frozen pizza shop delivers pizza, and since y'all aren't that far from Oklahoma, we're delivering to Oklahoma. All right, so the next step here is to conduct the page with Conductor. Now I showed y'all on the back end how you can go to the WordPress dashboard, click on Conductor, click on Options, and you can configure your Conductor layout there. The other way is using this WordPress admin bar at the top, and you can click Conduct this page. All right, so here we are. Here's our standard blog page. Go Conductor layouts in the lower left. One thing I will caution you guys on that I found, this is kind of more of a, once you've been working with it for a while, you'll learn some of the idiosyncrasies. If there's a built-in version, like front page and blog up there at the top, you want to choose that option when you're conducting. I actually tried, when I was preparing for the speech, I tried in the single page area down below conducting that, and it was conflicting with front page and then the home. And so even though you have two options for conducting, one down the bottom says blog and one at the top says blog, if you have one at the top, use the built-in one. You want to conduct on that page. Otherwise, it'll spin its wheels and you'll get frustrated and you won't know what's going on. Now you know. Pro tip number 2. All right, so content disappeared again. We're used to this kind of stuff, not a problem. Here's the Conductor widget here. We saw this before. I changed that option from post to page. Here's the blog option again. All of our stuff's back, in theory. Let's hit here. Oh, I see what I did wrong here. All right, so what we want to do is posts. We want to select many. So this is going to bring us back our posts. This is a little different layout than what we saw before on the blog. We can change this within Conductor. I can change it to medium. I can change it to small. You can do custom. For this one, you can even do portfolio. These are different layout options that we have here. Now, I'm just going to use small this time. Now, we can, just like before, we can tweak what we want to show up on this particular page. You can get rid of the author byline if you want to. I know many people like to hide the dates on their sites, and so this is another way to hide the date if you get rid of that author byline. Now, the content here, okay, so it's showing us all of the content. Do we really want to see all of the content, or do we want to see an excerpt? They've got an excerpt option here with content. So that brings it down. Then you can continue reading actually makes sense because it's something you haven't seen. So these are called, let's see, content displays within Conductor. It's
Just
pretty.
one-
Yeah, go ahead.
Quick question. They are not aligned because of the size of the pictures?
Yeah, let's go look and see what it looks like on the. There's only this particular content display is set up for like 3 or 4 or 5 columns, and so it's displaying the first 2 on the far left. If you only had 2 blog articles like this page, it'd probably be better to select medium until you get more content. Then as you get more content, then you'd select small, or if you wanted to, you could say, well, I don't want 2, I don't want 4, I want 3, and so then you can say, okay, well, how many columns do you want?
Right, my question was actually, is there a way to align the who can say no to pizza and we're delivering?
I gotcha. Yeah, there's a portfolio option for this, and with the portfolio layout, then it aligns the bottom of the image. Yeah, good question. So we'll just leave it on portfolio since y'all seem to like that one. This is good. That's why I like to demo live for this particular plugin, because then we can go through stuff. Y'all can ask questions. All right. Okay, so we've configured the blog page. We've configured the home page, part 1. So we're going to go and activate the extra cool stuff in here. So let's go and do that.
Do they have a section called extra cool stuff?
They do not. They do not. Would be nice though, right? All right. So I've added a number of plugins here. Plugins that we'll typically use on a site and that I find very helpful. The accordion shortcode plugin. So accordion shortcode and widget. That's the important part there. Akismet, we all know about that one. I'm not going to bother. It's just a demo site. Black Studio. Anybody use this particular plugin? It's a pretty handy little widget. I know that on widgets a lot of times there is that text widget that you'll throw into a sidebar, and you have to know HTML. With Black Studio, you don't have to know HTML. You just throw the widget in the sidebar. You type in your content just like you normally would on your WordPress page editor. You can do bulleted lists, you can do numbered lists, you can do bold, all that stuff without knowing HTML. Now, I'm going to add some other options here with the content display add-on. I'm not going to use the slider. I thought about it, but I'm not. So we're gonna skip the slider. It's there. It's one of the advanced add-ons. Image widget, we'll use that one. Next Gen Gallery, we'll use that one. I don't know that we'll use the shortcode widget plugin, but it's there. So if we need to, I'm gonna go ahead and activate it. All right. So we've added our Conductor add-ons. I went ahead and added the third-party add-ons while we're in there. The menu pages are there, or at least the baseline menu page is there. So let's go look at that. I'm going to build the menu out here. I'm going to go ahead and add in just this menu item here. So I'm just going to add the top level menu item. Right in the middle should be a good spot for it. All right, so I'm going to click on menu. It looks very bare. These guys don't have anything on the menu. Let's fix that. Everything's off the menu, so everybody's cool when they come to this restaurant. All right, we're going to conduct it again. There's no built-in page for menu, so we don't have to worry about that. There's no special handling. We're going to go straight down to menu here. Hit conduct this type. I'm going to leave the sidebars off again, just like before. I'm going to add our fancy Conductor widget here. All right, so now we're going to do many pages. And so what it's going to do, when I say many pages, it's going to bring in every page on the site, and it's going to put it here, which is not quite what we want. What we really want is we want to just see the pages that are part of the menu. So let's go look on the back end at pages. And am I going too fast for anybody here? Are y'all keeping up with some of this? All right. So WordPress, going back to even probably the earliest versions, has a number, a page ID for each particular post or each particular page. And so the way Conductor will allow you to either include or exclude pages is by using these page IDs. And so it's not super obvious where these page IDs are, but I'll show you where they are. If you've ever looked at and been curious to look at the URL at the top, oops, let's see, yeah, this there. All right, so if I look at the top here, I see post equals 26. That's my page ID. So we're going to need that for Conductor because we don't want every page to show up on the menu. We just want the items that are on the menu. We just want, in this case, olive pizza and pepperoni pizza. All right, so display settings down here. Sorry, advanced settings a little further down. So 26. As soon as I type that in, it starts filtering everything down, and we see olive pizza. If you're wondering why I selected olive pizza, it's because that's what image I got on Flickr. It seemed easy enough. And then I love pepperoni pizza, so we had to include that one. I know it's like the most generic version of pizza, but there's a reason everybody orders it. Am I right? All right, so 26 and 29, those are our two pizzas that we have on the menu. Now that's not particularly appealing. We've got a lot going on here for just kind of a menu page. And so what I want to do is slim it down. And so what I'm going to do is just change our layout here to medium. Now you'll notice before we had, I'm going to come to this side here first, this side. Before we had small, medium, large, custom, and portfolio, that was it. But then I added those advanced plugins for Conductor, and now we've got list, we've got table, we've got grid, so we've got a few extra options for displaying here. So we could display this as a list if we wanted to. So say you're adding new menu items all the time, this will prevent you from having to rebuild this menu page or tell your developer to rebuild this menu page. It's there. So super helpful. The table option is in here as well. This will take care of all your layouts, make everything look good for you here. Now you can customize, again, take off author byline. That's not important. What people will really want to know about is, you know, ingredients. Say you had a margarita pizza, or say you had the works. People might want to know what the works is. Now, what I'm going to do is just keep it simple here. I'm going to keep these as a medium size. And then I'm going to go through, actually I'm going to pick our other favorite option here. Where'd it go? Portfolio. That'll make our images the same size, in theory. Okay, featured image size. That's another thing you can do with Conductor. You can change your featured image size. All right, give it just a second here.
That's spinning. He has the spinning ball of death.
Yes. All right, there we go. Looking good, looking good. So there we have 300 by 300. We selected our pages that we want to include there.
Probably get them to continue reading.
Yes, let's do that. Let's clean it up a bit. There's a little bit too much content on here. Continue reading. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of content. I don't think we necessarily need the ingredients on the menu page. I'll go ahead and leave title. I'm not as big a fan of that layout anymore. I'm going to switch it back to medium. It's okay. Let's see what it looks like on the main site here. All right, so it needs a little CSS work, not quite there. You know, if we were wanting to just kind of deal with what we have here with two menu items, let's see what this looks like in large. Okay, let's go a little bit bigger on the sizes of the image. Now I believe these images, they're not super big, so I don't know if we can go much bigger. Let's see what other layouts we have here. All right, olive pizza. All right, so we're just going to stick with that for now. You'll see there's lots of options for layout. This would look kind of like what you'd see at a menu at a restaurant. You may want to add the ingredients back in if you wanted to there. But yeah, lots of options for building out the layout of the menu page. Now, any questions? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come back to the home page, and we're going to configure and basically add some more complexity to the home page.
John,
Yes.
just one other, if you could go back to the previous
Sure.
page. Is there any way that you can put that copyright John's Pizza Shop sort of like in a different place at the bottom, or kind of make it a different color, like black?
Right.
Don't see if that's.
Yeah, that would be a CSS change. This is,
Okay.
there are other, like Divi and some of the other guys out there where you have a lot more power over what you can do everywhere, and then there's a lot more complexity that comes with it. So in this case, you would have to use CSS to make those changes. But good question. This will help you get your layout in place, and then your developer can go in and kind of make the last 10% of the changes for you. And I'll show you guys some examples of how these sites can look once we're done configuring them and making the CSS look great. All right, so where were we? We were on back to the home page. So let's go back to the home page. I'm going to close some of those links there. We're going to go to home. Like I mentioned before, a couple of options for how we actually get in and start conducting these pages. I'm going to go from the admin bar here at the top, select conduct this page. So we're going to add some more widgets in here, because that's the main power of Conductor is being able to pull in all these third-party widgets who had no idea they're going to be thrown into a page layout builder, and then adding them here. So if you guys have used NextGen Gallery, they have a widget, and so I had already set up a gallery, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. We're going to select the pizza gallery, which is what should be here. All right, so I turned this. Let's see. Interesting. I think this will work. Let's see. Yep, there's my pizza pictures. All right. So we want to make these just a little bit bigger. Let's try 300. All right, so we got 300 by 300. It's got a row of images there. Now, how these are laid out and how these work on responsive for a responsive website on tablet or smartphone really depends on the plugin itself. And so, in this case, NextGen, once we get down to tablet, it's going to go ahead and make this one long column. Now, if you're using another plugin, it might do something else. There's also another version of NextGen, which allows, this is just the free version off of the WordPress.org website, and it has limited layout options, but pretty good for the price. Any fans of NextGen out there? Anybody use NextGen on your sites? It's very good for if you have large amounts of photos to use. It's very helpful for that, and it doesn't use the WordPress Media Manager, but it does have its own media manager on the back end. For larger collections of photos, it's very handy, and also has some good display options. So here's what we're looking like on different sites. I'm going to go ahead and add in another widget here, just for good measure. So you guys saw the image widget that we had in there earlier. I'm going to go ahead and add that in. I'm going to select an image. In this case, I'm going to use this, this oven here, this pizza oven. Now, you'll notice I added the pizza oven, but it didn't actually show up here. It's because since this is a responsive widget, it's saying you don't have enough space to show up, so I'm not actually going to show up. But you can select the size of the image, and if I scale that down to something that'll work with this particular theme, then all of a sudden the widget starts showing up. So just, if at first you don't see something in Conductor, or really in general on your site, it always pays to look at the settings. And that way, typically there's a setting in there that'll help you out. All right, so I want to show you guys one more widget here. This isn't really going to work so well.
John, why did you use the note?
Ah, note widget, thank you. I will use the note widget. So the note widget is one that's built to work with Conductor. And I kind of like the note widget and I kind of don't. It's a little bit buggy. Now, the cool thing about it is it allows you to do some nice layouts, and you edit the code, or you edit the content right there. And so you don't have to worry about going back to your page and then going to your Conductor page. The content is all edited right there. So let's go ahead and do that here. So I'm going to do a 2-column layout with the media on the left. So the widget's down here. I can select that. I can pick, let's just pick this guy. He'll sell a lot of pizzas for you. So we'll put him in there. All right, come on out. See how I'm editing right in line there? All right. I don't know why an Italian restaurant's serving margaritas, but it's hot, so yeah. All right, so you can do that. You can also change, like if you wanted to change like a 3-column layout, 4-column layout. So we've seen widgets that can stack height-wise. The note widget allows you to split things up width-wise. So it allows you to get more granular control there. the widget is a little bit tricky to use. Like if I go in here, like the first question you'll have is, oh, well, how do I make it bold? Or how do I add bulleted lists? It's not super intuitive, but if you highlight the text, oh, there's the edit, there's the thing. So it took me a minute to figure that out. So if I highlight this, I can say, okay, we're open late. Okay. Let's try numbers. So you'll see that this particular one, the theme says that if you have a bulleted list here, that there's no bullets. That's not super useful, but it's following the theme styles. So if you don't like that, have your developer go in, change the theme style, put in bullets or squares or whatever you want for an unordered list, which is what this is right here. Or I would never pick this option, but yeah, it's there. So in this case, I'm just going to get rid of unordered lists, leave it at that. We'll change 4 columns back down to 2. If I hit save and publish,
John, if you do, like you got 4 columns that went back to, so do you have a line of demarcation? You got your big line, then your 4 columns, and you can put another big one down there at the bottom if you wanted to?
let's see. So you want to do 2 rows?
Yeah.
You're saying. So what you would do in that case, great,
Oh, cool.
great question. So let's say you had 4. All right. Oh boy. Like I said, a little buggy. So you have to kind of, that's why I have a love-hate relationship with this one. Come on out. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Obviously, I'm just kind of putting stuff in here. Now, you can do multiple. Okay, so you have columns. Oh, okay. So yeah, I selected multiple rows here. It's not buggy. I just looked at it wrong here. You can do multiple rows with one widget. So that's cool. You can also stack multiple widgets on top of each other, which is another way to do it.
If you want another big image down below that, you could do that if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could put another image down here. Then you'd select this option. We could put, all right, there is, we'll use this guy. Now serving olive pizza. Anybody love olive pizza? All right, John's Pizza, that's where you need to be. All right, so lots of options there. You can see the styling's not quite where it needs to be. A little bit of CSS to be done there, but you can at least get the layout in place. That's half the battle, oftentimes, and it's responsive. So you can go in, you can make changes here, and it'll do what it needs to on your different devices.
John?
Yes.
The symphony
Theme.
does that come with, or
It comes with. Let's go back to an earlier slide. Great question. I'll make this one full screen here. So Conductor has different versions. The base version comes with Conductor plugin, updates, and basically the Conductor plugin itself. Now this one includes the Symphony theme and a few extra add-ons, the custom fields add-on, which you all saw that I added a few extra options in addition to portfolio, single, double, whatever. This one includes all the add-ons and then all the add-ons. So yeah, great question. Depending on what your needs are, you may say, hey, Blogger is good enough for me. I'll have my developer take care of the rest. Or I'll tell my developer, buy that one, and he'll take care of the rest, whatever. Yeah, good question. So let's jump in. So we did a little bit of demoing. You guys can see it real world here. We went through and configured the home page, added some extra complexity there. Let's look at some real world sites here. So we did a number of real world sites. One was a complete redesign for Nighthawk tires. They're down in the Houston area. The other one was for the style signature up here in Dallas. Another one was for community integrated employment. We did a landing page for them. They were really specific on what they wanted to include on the landing page. They said, we got to include this slide, we got to include this, we got to include that. It's got a lot of great content on there. We went and distilled it down to what they really needed, but this is aimed at more of a technical, like medical type crowd, and so they needed, all the links to their tests. Yeah, they went and had some folks go in and actually go through the training classes and audit them. And so they had to have those types of links. So the people knew when they're spending, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on the training that it was worthwhile and it had already been tested. All right, so let's go look at those in real life here. So you guys saw that little slide. So this was done, this is a Genesis theme, and then we went on top of that, and then we added in the Conductor plugin for the advanced layouts on the site. And so these guys sell tracks and tires for all sorts of construction equipment that I can't name. And so, yeah, they've got these heavy-duty tracks, heavy-duty tires. This whole page was done with Conductor. So we had, you guys saw the different widgets we played with. So this is the note widget. Oh, actually, sorry, this is your standard page editor for WordPress. This is the note widget, 2 columns. In this case, we do have the bulleted lists because that's what we wanted. Here's a next gen widget. Here's another note. Here's another note widget, and then here's another note widget. So we built this whole layout. The best thing is the client can then go back in. Let's say they make some changes later on. They talk to their marketing folks and say, oh, we have some more product benefits. They can go add that in without having to worry about breaking something on the back end of the page editor. What you'll see developers do sometimes, not in this group, but other developers, they'll go in on the back end and they'll make these changes. They'll put the special CSS in there, and then you toggle back and forth from text to visual in WordPress, and then all of a sudden all those changes get blown away. Well, with Conductor or some of the other page layout builders, that stuff's built in, it's baked in. You're not worried about losing that custom CSS on the back end. We don't do any of that stuff. We don't go into the page editor and then tell you not to use the visual editor in WordPress. That kind of defeats the whole purpose. You should never have to go in and learn HTML and WordPress on the back end. Maybe a little bit here and there for text widgets, but by and large, you should be able to use a visual editor of some sort. If you're not doing that, you're kind of losing a lot of the benefits of WordPress. All right, so I'll show you guys the tires page. This is another one of those design or the content displays we talked about before. So there's a real world scenario. The style signature. This lady is awesome. She was Miss Alabama a few years ago, and then she has a beauty company now, and she's super down to earth, super personable. She's like, I guess you could say like she's the quintessential Dallas person, Dallasite kind of. She's friendly. She's Texan. She's one Miss Alabama, but you know she's in Texas. She's awesome. So anyway, style studies. She wanted a page. She's not technical, so we put this Conductor plugin in there for her. We created this style studies page. Here's people that she's helped out. She's got some before and after pictures on there. All this stuff is done with Conductor. She can go and maintain it. She wants to add an extra style study page. She just adds that page, looks at the number in the top like we talked about before, and then she'll add that to the content display area there. So there's some real world scenarios. We had one more client down in Houston where she wanted a quick landing page. The site was already created, so we worked with the existing theme that she had, and she just wanted a landing page up because she had this new training program and she wanted to be able to maintain it herself. So another perfect fit for Conductor. And so we actually did we went through and kind of went above and beyond as far as the existing theme already had a theme builder built in, but it was horrible. And so we basically disabled it and overrode it and put Conductor on top of it. And so she can go in, she's not technical either, but this is your standard page editor in WordPress. This is that image widget that we just went through. This is this is the Tiny MCE widget, also part of the Tiny MCE. I believe these are all Tiny MCE. And she can do bulleted lists, she can do H1s, H2s, all that kind of stuff in there. And so she's good to go.
So on something like that, you know, font sizes, I'm not gonna remember what it is, but I got a widget that lets me change fonts and sizes and this and that. So will something like that, will it work in Conductor, or does Conductor provide that benefit, or how does
If it's
that?
a widget, it'll probably work within Conductor. Now, in this case, the font sizes were dictated by the theme, and so we just followed the rest of the theme. That way we weren't completely changing what the landing page looked like versus the other pages. And so this particular program isn't live yet, and so the application form, it's not live yet, but there is a form down at the bottom we created for her. It's responsive, and this one, you know, she'd already had a submission the other day. This just went live like a week ago, and she had a submission down at the bottom. The thing with landing pages, not to get too far off here, is you want to make sure to provide lots of ways for whoever lands on that page for people to contact you. And if their question isn't answered right away, you want to make sure that they have a phone number or a form or something. And I told her, I was like, okay, well, we have this application in the middle of the page. What if they don't want to apply? What if they want to call you? She's like, well, I might be in the middle of a training session, so calling me is not going to work too well. It's like, okay, well, how about we have any questions form down at the bottom, so if the top part didn't answer what they needed, they can just fill that in and know that you'll get a hold of them. And so we did that, and it worked. Like the other day, just went live a week ago, and she already had a submission, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so that's the general presentation here. Go ahead and jump into Q&A. Any other questions, Chris?
I have two questions. First one, I'm curious, how, with all the widgets and everything, what does the markup look like?
On the back end, the code?
Yeah, the code. How is it inserting that into the page?
Yeah,
So
basically.
I just need to go to one of the sites you showed me.
Yeah, you should go kind of look at it. It's whatever the widget markup would look like before.
So
I have looked a little bit at the HTML. What Conductor will do is it'll add like an extra layer around some of those widgets, and then you have to, sometimes it'll throw off your styling because of that. And so your theme might not be expecting that layer to be there around some of your headings, and so you'll find that if you use like a Genesis theme, you'll have to go in and make some tweaks to your Genesis styling so it'll work with Conductor.
But you said that Symphony, Symphony is from.
Symphony is made by Conductor, so it's out of the box, ready to go with all your heading styles and whatnot. Symphony is pretty bare bones when you get it, so you would really want to dive in and start configuring and getting your layout working. For us, what we like to do is we like to start with a Genesis theme, configure that Genesis theme. Those Genesis themes already look pretty awesome, so if you're all familiar with Studio Press, they have their whole Genesis framework and all the themes that work with that. And so we'll typically start with that. And then they already look great on mobile, and so for, like, say, our introductory packages, we'll start with that, and then use Conductor to create some advanced layouts for folks. And then we'll also use, there's a Design Palette Pro, is that what it's called? Yeah, Design Palette Pro is a configuration plugin for Genesis Pro level themes. And you can get in there and change the colors, you can change this, do CSS level changes, but through the WordPress dashboard.
Yeah, I don't do any of that. Like Mantra, that's what I usually, that's kind of my go-to theme, and this thing will work with that.
Oh yeah, it'll work with it. You might have to do some little tweaks, just kind of get it working exactly with that theme, but that's the beauty of it. And then 5 years from now, you may decide you want to go with a thesis theme or a WooCommerce theme. There's an add-on for Conductor that'll work with WooCommerce. So any of you WooCommerce fans, Conductor will work with that. Great way to display your products. Great way to go in and create nice looking shopping pages.
Are there ways, John, to set up layouts and then save them and then later sort of use them on another site, that sort of thing?
That's a great question. I haven't tried that, so not sure. Now, if you played around in the database, you might be able to go and look and see if there's some hooks in there that you can copy from one to the other. That's a great question.
Zeros on Twitter, ask him.
That's a great question. There should be like an export plugin where you can export your layout and then re-import it somewhere else. That'd be especially for landing pages. It'd be super handy. Yeah, Peter.
What's the performance like on the back end?
Great question.
The longer it takes that page to come down.
Yes, yeah.
People wander away.
On WP Engine, you don't even notice it. on HostGator, you're going to notice it. So, yeah, if you're using Conductor, and really for any website, you should have it on a managed hosting environment. Managed hosting is, 15, 20. Flywheel, I think, is like 15, 20. WP Engine is $30 a month. I know some of you are paying much less. Maybe you're on SiteGround. Actually, it'll work on SiteGround and above. So I'd say any decent shared hosting environment it'll work on. We've used this on SiteGround, and it works pretty good over there. On our HostGator shared account, it was bombing. So yeah, it was not doing well. There's a lot going on with this plugin on the back end. If you have a caching service on top, or a caching feature on top of your hosting, either shared or unshared, WP Engine takes care of caching for you, and so the performance is basically negligible on once you invoke caching. But yeah, great question. Cool. Any other questions, Chris?
Yeah, okay. So I've been reading all over social media about the new builder, Beaver Builder. Have you played with it at all, or I've never used it. I don't know.
What did he say? I'm sorry, we can hear.
I'm asking about Beaver, if he's ever played with Beaver Builder.
Yeah.
Because I've been seeing lots of people talk about it as of late.
Haven't played with it. It's another plugin-based builder, I believe, we've talked about that a little bit before. It's cool that it's plugin based. I'm definitely a fan of any plugin based solution. I'd love to check it out. I haven't checked it out yet. I believe they do a free version on WordPress.org. That's where I was. Is that right, Sylvia?
A lot of studio Genesis people recommend Beaver over anything else. They said it writes the cleanest code. It doesn't leave the short code options if you switch themes.
Okay.
And they just seem to think it works fast. It's much more efficient than some of the others. Now,
Cool.
I haven't heard anybody specifically, saying don't use Conductor or anything else.
Right.
But I've just seen that mentioned the most in the Genesis user group,
Yeah.
Facebook group I belong to.
Conductor came out maybe a year and a half ago, and I think they were first to market for a plugin based
Yeah.
approach. There will be other solutions out there, just like everything else. There's going to be a marketplace out there. It's good to have a healthy
And Beaver Builder,
marketplace.
you can use anyway, and they do have their own theme that comes with it too if you want to use their starter theme.
I'd love to check it out. Yeah, appreciate
And
the
they have
tips.
a free and a paid version.
So it's a plugin based approach then
Yeah,
too, and then it's
absolutely.
also widgets. You can throw widgets in there. And
I
play
haven't
around.
used it yet, but it's worth checking out, yeah.
Tony?
Symphony looked very plain,
Yes.
Are there child themes for Symphony? Are people doing that?
Good question. Symphony, they do have a plugin that you can add that will allow you to easily replicate and create new child themes on top of Symphony. And it's I believe it may be a code-free option, it may not be. I'm not sure on that one. But let's say you want to create your own child theme. You want to make sure that, I think if you're going to make code changes, that's where it'll allow you to create child themes. So yes, you can create child themes. Anytime, it doesn't matter if you're modifying 2016 or Genesis or whatever, you should always create a child theme. We've run this issue before where the developer before us, they went through and they modified like something they bought off a theme for us, and then all of a sudden there's an update for the theme off the theme for us. The client goes through and they update that theme, blows away their whole website. And so yeah, make sure that, if not now, maybe it's one of those tasks that comes up soon with one of your developers.
And you should always back up your site.
Yes, always back up your site. Chris, did you do a backup presentation recently here?
Well, no, but I just said if you go with managed hosting, they back it up every night.
Yes, yeah, backup is
And you should back
critical.
it up off of the server that's hosting.
That's right. That's right. Always have a remote backup solution. There's a number of options out there. I've done presentations here on Backup Buddy. VaultPress is another one. There's one more.
Blog Vault.
BlogVault.
I think it's
Blog Vault?
Somebody's
I'm not
telling
familiar
me
with them.
that. I don't know.
Okay, cool.
There's several.
Well,
Clay?
there's a backup feature built that's right there on the dashboard. Is that sufficient?
So it depends.
Well,
Typically, you'll want it to be on a
I do it
third-party
down.
site. WP Engine does create daily snapshots, and they'll put it on another site. But me, I want something that's completely independent of whatever they have. Let's say worst case scenario, like a hacker comes in and just wreaks havoc on their servers. Of course, since it's through whatever hosting provider it is, they might be able to get access, also destroy those backups. So me being ultra paranoid, I would rather have it be with somebody completely independent. So for us, we like to use VaultPress, works awesome with WP Engine. WP Engine is super secure, and so they're always locking down whatever plugin. They're pretty strict on what they allow to happen, but it's for your own benefit. It's for performance, it's for security, it's for maintainability. So it's definitely with good reason. But yeah, always have a backup solution, extra backup option.
Does it
Kevin?
also work if you download files and then export your database and just keep running your desktop?
So if you wanted to say export it and then run it locally,
Yeah, and just save all the files, pull all the files to your FTP. Is it the same thing as backing up like that?
yes, that would be a backup. So if you're exporting your database and you're downloading all your files, that would be basically a manual backup. Now, Backup Buddy can automate that for you if you want to download that and then keep it locally. Maybe you want to put it on and then Backup Buddy will also send it to a Dropbox account, or they have iThemes has a product called Stash where you can have it automatically uploaded to their server. It's definitely cost effective. If you're on a typical shared hosting environment, Backup Buddy will work great. It just doesn't work very good with WP Engine. But yeah, great question. Keep them coming. Anybody else have any other questions? Beth?
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the hosting question for just
Mhm.
a second.
Mhm.
Because I'm in a room full of people that know a lot about WordPress hosting.
Yeah, now's the time to
I
ask.
have a client that was on a very low-end Bluehost, and they're upgrading to cloud.
Mhm.
What's the difference, and would this type of solution work for them if we decide to upgrade their website, which we hope to do soon?
So I'd say on that one, your mileage may vary. Now, there's a cool plugin that GoDaddy released, probably because they got tired of everybody's support calls blaming their hosting for everything.
Yeah.
They released a plugin called P3. I believe it stands for Performance Plugin Profiler. 3 Ps in that. And it's super handy. You can install this on your website on the back end in the plugins area. You can just search for it, find it in the WordPress.org repository there, and just type in P3, you'll find it, and it's super helpful. Now, don't leave it running all the time. Download it, activate it, run it, look through your numbers. When you're not using it, deactivate it, because there is a performance penalty when you're running that plugin. So what I would say is, once they move over there, install that plugin, look at your time, see if they're good or not. One thing that we did was, and this can vary from server to server, but we had a client go to GoDaddy. They have a managed hosting option now, which I was thinking to myself when they had that managed hosting option, I was like, WP Engine's got to be nervous, because GoDaddy, big like 800-pound gorilla of hosting and domains and everything else, getting into managed, that's kind of like WP Engine's bread and butter right there. But we put a site over there that was on WP Engine previously, and it was way slower. Now, maybe we got a bump server with GoDaddy, hard to say. I've seen a lot of variation on shared hosting, where some shared hosts will be, I'll have clients with GoDaddy, and some will be great, some not so great, and yeah, but by and large, everybody I've taken to WP Engine has been faster.
Remember that manage is a word can be used by anybody.
Yes, managed is just a marketing term
It's just a
of some
marketing
sort,
term.
like,
It doesn't mean the same thing as GoDaddy or Bluehost as it does with WP.
yeah, managed, shared, all that stuff. It's,
'Cause
we're
everybody
marketers, we know we can
WordPress now.
kind of stretch the words a little bit, yeah. Tony?
One question I thought Beth was going to ask was, what is the SEO implications of using a builder rather than, having everything within?
Oh, great question, great
Speed.
question, great question.
That's why.
That's a very good question.
The number one thing would be speed, I would think.
Speed, and also what's it putting out on the back end? Is it a bunch of just kind of garbled up HTML code, which I think kind of Chris was asking as well
That was where I
too.
was going with that.
The answer depends on the widget. Now, the widgets that we inserted in there, the tiny MCE, the note widget as well, they are all using headings of some sort. Now, they were using H3s, which I would have preferred an H2. And so the way around that, if you're looking at if you want to maximize your SEO, in that case, if you're using that tiny MCE widget from Black Ice, you can actually pick H2 inside of there. So just don't use the title at the top where they want you to put in the title. Just skip that, go down into the body, put your title there, highlight it, select H2, and then you're off to the races.
Yeah.
So there's a way around it. I would, really good question.
Thank
That's,
you for pointing
yeah.
that out. Interesting.
yes.
John, do you have any advice as far as trying to determine the compatibility of Conductor with other third-party themes?
So far, it's worked on every theme that I put it on. It hasn't been a huge variety of themes. We put it on primarily Genesis themes. We put it on that other theme that we picked up for the landing page, for the training landing page. And so far, so good. It's worked well with everything. Now, you'd want to test it. Anytime you're doing especially like a big thing like adding a theme builder or a plugin builder on the back end, or a page builder, I should say, I would make sure, back up your site, do this on a staging server first. You don't want to be doing production level work on a production site until it's been tested. Cool, great question.
The gentleman up there, the Matt dude was saying that if you go with Divi, you're done, so can you elaborate on that? So evidently he doesn't like Divi.
So that's Chris Lima. He has a great article up on chrislima.com where he talks about Divi. And before I jumped into Conductor, I did a lot of research, and at the time there was Divi, there was Make, and then there was Conductor. And so I was like, well, I really like the Matt report, I really like their podcast, I really want to buy that one, but I want to do my research first. And so he just basically, he said, if it's Divi, it better be forever. So that kind of did it for me, because I didn't want to be just pushed into just tied to one theme. Now, it might be great for some business models. It might be great for some business owners. Like, imagine being freed of not having to worry about coding your site anymore. And instead, you can go into the back end, you can change what you need to there. So, depending on what your needs are, Divi may be awesome. Just realize that once you're with Divi, you better be forever.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's a little bit like the old, the old days of PCs where they go, well, you don't want to have a PC that's made by like HP or something like that, because you can't update all the little pieces inside of it.
Right.
So you get this other thing.
ever update all those little pieces. Because
Yeah.
it just isn't workable anymore.
Yeah.
So,
I would say there's a little bit different when we're dealing with websites, because it's all database driven. And if you put that in the database in a nice clean way, we can be pulling it out of the database 10, 20, 30 years in
Well-
the future. Divi puts it in the database a certain way, that's what Chris says, you better not ever.
yeah, but you're not leaving composer.
Well,
Or
Composer,
what they call it?
well,
I
Composer.
think
Not
it
composer.
changed everything.
Conductor, you're not leaving conductor because it's got stuff in the database and very.
That's true. That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
You are, man.
Now, if you wanted to leave Conductor, those pages that you built in Conductor would go away. Now, if you wanted to change your theme and keep Conductor, as long as you're keeping Conductor in the back end, it's going to
Right,
work great.
exactly.
So,
Well, then you
kind
have
of
a builder too, that you can use with any theme, so how
You
is that
can use
different?
it.
right. So you can change. If we think of this as like a giant collection of Legos, Divi is the whole box of Legos, and then with Conductor, you can take a number of different Legos, maybe some blue ones, maybe some red ones, maybe some yellow ones, and change them up as needed, and you can have access to everything. I know there are some compatibility issues.
Yeah, I wouldn't let it distract your key decisions.
Yeah.
It's that little commitment, because there's a commitment on everything.
And there's trade-offs to everything. So maybe you're a designer and you prefer to focus more on the UI, and you don't want to deal with the code. You want to deal with the developer, and you're okay with maybe some plugins being incompatible with Divi. There's obviously, Divi is super popular, so there's a reason for it. So as long as you're okay with that, you may just want to just say, you know what, I don't need a developer. I'll do everything I need to in Divi. I know the back end is a little bit different. So the cool thing is there's options for everybody. And yeah. So Divi is definitely there. I think there's some meetups probably here in town on just Divi where you can go and learn about that particular theme. And so yeah, I would check it out, play with it, maybe build a sample site with it if you wanted to play around with it, and then maybe go down that option. But like I said, it better be forever.
But so just to simplify it, what you're saying is Divi makes some changes to your theme that you can't really easily get rid of, but Conductor doesn't.
Right,
That-
Conductor would just change the pages that you were conducting. So your blog posts would primarily be left alone, unless you went and conducted a specific blog post.
But once you conducted it, then
Then-
you can't really get out of it clean and.
Kind of. I'll show you guys what. Let's go ahead and turn off Conductor and see what happens, because that's a lot of good questions. So what it's going to do, what I expect it to do, because I haven't done this before, but what I expect it to do is to basically unconduct all the pages that we had conducted before. So let's go take a little trip down memory lane. Let's go look at the home page. It's like I should have had some cue some like nice music or something. Dun, 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 dun,
I've got my
dun,
kazoo in the
dun.
trunk. if you
Yeah,
like.
there you go. So here's the blog page. Remember all the good times, the blog page. Got the menu page. All right, so now let's take everything with the letter, with Conductor in it. Let's deactivate. So the question is, will our site become a useless bowl of spaghetti? So I expect the menu page to disappear because we created that in Conductor, right? So since that was a Conductor page and a Conductor page only, it's gone. My expectation is the blog page would revert back to normal. There you go. So the blog page is back to normal. The home page should go back to where we were with part 1. So there you go. So
But
it's
it
not
still
a
doesn't have the author and the heading that used to have.
Well,
the
the-
part.
Right.
You can put them back in.
Right.
The key thing there is that all the data was saved into the database the way WordPress expects it to be saved in the
Right.
database. So he removed that out, which was creating, and when we make themes, we make archive pages, and that's what the menu page was. So you take out that plugin, you've lost that archive page. Any theme in the future, though, can make a new archive page and pull that data and display it from the database. So the content is still there. That, to me, is why the plugin option is the better option.
So you still have a usable baseline. So if I take Conductor and I deactivate it, I just go back to regular WordPress. If I take Divi and I switch back to 2016, I've got a boatload of shortcodes thrown around everywhere, and it's pretty much unusable. And so if I was taking a Divi site and converting it back to a regular WordPress website, what I would probably do is scrape the content on the front end and copy it from the old Divi site to the new standard WordPress website. That would be probably your best option for a WordPress.
You export. So
Can you do that with Divi? Can you export, and
all
will it leave the
you can export all
shortcodes
the
in, or will it
blogs.
take them
You
out?
can export all the blogs, so you can get all your blog content out.
Okay.
Been there, done that.
With
And
Divi, like after Divi's been installed and done its thing, and so it'll give you some clean exports.
you can export out the blogs, so you can get the blogs. Like if it's just like a home page with content, I type 80 words a minute, it's faster to type. But the blogs, you can actually export those out.
Okay, cool. We should definitely have Tony get somebody on the books here to do a Divi presentation of some sort. We made some assumptions. It's definitely super popular for a reason. So I definitely would love to see somebody come and present on Divi. Maybe Peter will come in and talk about that one.
But, I have clients all the time that want to switch out of a theme into another one. It's
Cool. Sylvia?
fun.
Have you used Conductor long enough that you've gone through them, updating?
Yeah, I've used it there have been a few updates to the plugin along the way.
And when they updated the Conductor plugin, did that wreak any havoc on your site?
So far, so good. The
Because
style
Divi
signatures.
sometimes does that.
Oh, okay. The style signature's been up for,
If you upgrade-
I don't know,
upgrade Divi
6,
itself,
9 months or so. There've been a number of plugin
sometimes
updates since
I
there,
have
and
a
it's been
plan
fine.
on
Now, yeah, we had some other questions, Clay.
Text
Because I didn't see
I'm sorry, John.
anything like a tutorial on the Conductor website.
Yeah.
My question is about best ways to learn this product, and due to the low pricing on this product, how much telephone support can they provide?
Yeah, the answer on that one is 0. But they do have they have a pretty comprehensive quick startup guide. So I'll show y'all where that is here.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, so I put all the plugins here. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's showing up pretty good over there. So we can make this a little bit bigger. They do provide a Conductor user guide.pdf, and that'll answer all the questions to get you up and rolling with it. Now, there's some tricks you'll learn along the way. One of them is when you have a Conductor page on that customizer, sometimes it doesn't show up on the left-hand side. I don't know if I showed you all the trick on that one. So what I like to do in that case is there's a little editor or edit option there. And so what I like to do, instead of going through and digging really deep into the code, so let's reload this page. This is our home page. So we're back to vanilla WordPress. I activated Conductor. Our menu came back. All this stuff came back. Let's click Conduct this page. Now, you guys saw on the left-hand side, I had to go through and just select the page again, even though it was showing in the main site. What I prefer to do, and this is another little pro tip you learn, just click on that little icon over there. Give it just a minute. Did I scroll too fast with the mouse? There we go. Yeah, so all the widgets came up by clicking on that. So that's kind of the quick way to do it. That way you don't have to dig through the menu. But yeah, they have all this. They do have pretty good email-based support. They have some ticketing options, and so I emailed them a couple of times. They responded within a day.
Okay, so my next logical question is what time zone are they located in, and how good is their English?
Good question. They responded next business day, so I'm not sure which time zone they're in. I know Matt's local.
They're in Massachusetts. Where's their?
Their English is terrible.
Yeah, their time zone is terrible. Their English is terrible. Nice. Peter?
In terms of like the clients, because if you have a brick and mortar, you're going to want to do localization. And so how does this happen with APIs, in particular the Google Maps?
For APIs, you could take like Google Maps, and you could just, it depends on the widget you use, but with that, you could use that tiny MCE image or widget, and you could just embed the embed code just like you would do in a page editor. And so that particular plugin uses the same editor that your standard WordPress page uses. So I don't think I showed y'all that plugin too in depth. Let's go ahead and add that particular. So that's a good one to have, even if you don't use Conductor. This is a handy little. It's a handy little widget. So it comes in this visual editor. So it just looks just like a piece of your WordPress page editor, and you can add that content in there. Just do everything like you normally do in the page editor. So you could do the embed code for, you could do it for SlideShare, for Google Maps, Vimeo, all of those guys.
What was that called?
This one, I'll show you all the plugin name, and this is the Black Ice, or Black Studio, sorry, tiny MCE widget. And I do have, like, once I upload this particular, I'll tweet it out, and I'll put it out on the kind of the discussion area of this meeting, but I have a whole list to every plugin along with links on there too. So no, like I would come to these meetings and half of what I learned is plugins. Like, wow, there's a cool plugin for that. You know, it's like, and then it's been vetted by somebody in the room. So, yeah. So there's lots of options. And then Chris Lima's article we talked about. I know we're getting short on time. Let's see, if you use Divi theme, it better be forever. That's on there too. Well, cool. All right, here's me with a beard. You'll see me like that again in about, I don't know, 4 months. In the meantime, we have the short beard. All right.
Excellent. Well, this generated tremendous discussion. Lots of people are obviously interested in themes, how we're going to work designing sites with plugins. I think what we're looking at is really the future of WordPress. These things are really almost in their infancy in starting out this sort of building from the front end. WordPress itself has wanted to move in this direction, and I think we're seeing a lot of progress in this. So it's going to be great to see how Conductor and Divi and the Divi Builder and Visual Composer, how the competitive pressures will help them to evolve and innovate over time. But the beautiful thing is we've got a great overview here. We saw the pros and the cons. There's a lot to offer having this sort of plug-in, this sort of building, and look for another type of meetup. We'll talk about Divi maybe in 2 months or 4 months. I've got some things on the books. Next month, Giovanni Gallucci is going to talk about getting started with digital marketing. Basically, his story is how he started with a company that had no website and no social and built it up into what they have now. So that's going to be a fantastic meeting. Don't miss that. Sign up for that now, because that'll definitely sell out in, that's July 23rd. And if you haven't taken WordPress 101, WordPress 102, if you're interested in that, if you want to do that, WordPress 101, or know people who are interested, is July 30th. That's a Saturday. And then the following Saturday, WordPress 102, which is like August 6th. Those are on the meetup as well. So another round of applause for John. Thank you so much.